Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive space station floating in front of his ship. The thing was huge, bigger than anything he had ever seen. It looked like a giant flower made of metal and glass, with long arms reaching out in all directions. Lights blinked along its surface like stars. "Well, this is not what we expected to find," Morrison said to his crew. He was a tall man with short brown hair and tired eyes. He had been in space for 3 months, looking for rare metals to mine. Now he was looking at proof that humans were not alone in the universe. "Sir, they're trying to talk to us," said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez. She was sitting at the communication station, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "The signal is strange, but our computers are starting to understand it," Morrison nodded. "Put it through." Voice filled the bridge. It sounded like music mixed with wind chimes. The computer translated the words into English. "Unknown vessel, you are welcome at Harmony Prime. Please state your origin and purpose." Morrison looked at his crew. Chief Engineer Bobby Patterson, a short man with red hair, shrugged. Communications Officer Tracy Adams, a young woman with blonde hair, looked nervous. Dr. Kevin Walsh, an older man with gray hair, seemed excited. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Liberty," Morrison said into the microphone. "We are from Earth. We got lost during a mining mission." There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, sounding confused. "Earth is not in our records. Please wait while we contact the Council." "The Council?" Morrison asked, but there was no answer. The Liberty was not a warship. It was a mining vessel with a crew of 30 humans. It had basic shields and some small weapons for protection against space pirates. Morrison never thought he would need them to fight aliens. "Captain," Rodriguez said, "I'm reading 12 different ship types around that station. They're all different from each other, like they come from different worlds." "That makes sense," Dr. Walsh said. "If there's a council, there must be many different species working together." Morrison felt a chill. Earth had no idea this galactic civilization existed. Humans had been alone, fighting among themselves, while an entire galaxy of intelligent species lived in peace nearby. "Sir," Patterson said from his engineering station, "our jump drive is still broken. We can't get home until I fix it, and that will take weeks." "Then we better make friends fast," Morrison said. An hour later, 3 alien ships approached the Liberty. They were beautiful, with curved lines and no visible weapons. Morrison had never seen anything like them. The lead ship was pure white, and seemed to glow with its own light. "Captain Morrison," the musical voice said, "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Ethereal Consortium. We are honored to meet a new species. Please, come aboard our station so we may speak properly." Morrison chose Rodriguez and Dr. Walsh to come with him. They took a small shuttle to the alien station. As they flew closer, Morrison saw that the station was even bigger than he thought. It could hold millions of people. The docking bay was huge and filled with ships from different worlds. Some looked like giant insects, others like living crystal, and some like nothing Morrison could describe. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around the bay, working together like they had done it for thousands of years. Ambassador Veltar met them at the airlock. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. He wore robes that seemed to be made of light itself. When he spoke, his voice was like a song. "Welcome to Harmony Prime," Veltar said. "You are the first new species we have met in over 1,000 years. This is very exciting." Morrison shook the alien's hand. It felt warm and soft. "Thank you for welcoming us. We didn't know anyone else was out here." Veltar looked surprised. "You didn't know? How is that possible? Our civilization covers half the galaxy." "We're from the other half, I guess," Morrison said. They walked through corridors filled with wonders. The walls showed pictures of different worlds, and the air smelled like flowers from a dozen different planets. Aliens of all types walked past them, some nodding politely, others staring with curiosity. "How long has this council existed?" Dr. Walsh asked. 3,000 years, Veltar said proudly. "We learned long ago that war and violence only bring suffering. Now we settle all disputes through discussion and peaceful competition." Morrison felt another chill. Humans had not learned that lesson yet. Earth still had armies and weapons and countries that fought each other. He hoped the aliens would understand that humans were working toward peace. Just more slowly, they entered a large room filled with representatives from 12 different species. Morrison saw beings that looked like walking trees, others that floated in the air like jellyfish, and some that appeared to be made of living rock. All of them were watching the humans with great interest. "Honored Council," Veltar said, "I present Captain Jake Morrison, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Rodriguez, and Dr. Kevin Walsh of the species called humans from a world called Earth." The beings in the room made various sounds that the computer translated as greetings. Morrison felt like he was in a dream. 3 hours ago, he thought humans were alone in the universe. Now he was standing in front of a galactic government. "Captain Morrison," said a voice like grinding stone, "I am Senior Counselor Mdad of the Crystal Hierarchy. We are pleased to meet you, but we are also confused. How did your species develop space travel without contacting us?" Morrison tried to think of a good answer. "We've been exploring space for about 400 years, but we stayed close to home. Our jump drive is new, and honestly, it doesn't work very well. We only ended up here by accident." "400 years?" said another voice, this one like buzzing insects. "We have been monitoring that region of space for millennia. We detected no signs of advanced civilization." "Maybe we're just really far away," Rodriguez suggested. A floating jellyfish-like being spoke with a voice like water. "Captain Morrison, would you be willing to share your star charts with us? We would like to understand where your home system is located." Morrison looked at Rodriguez, who nodded. "Of course, Tracy, send them our navigation data." Tracy Adams, back on the Liberty, transmitted Earth's location and the star charts of human space. The aliens studied the information on their screens, and Morrison watched their expressions change. He couldn't read alien faces well, but he could tell they were surprised. "This is most unusual," Veltar said slowly. "According to this data, your species has spread to 47 star systems. That is a significant expansion for a species we have never encountered." "We've been busy," Morrison said, trying to make a joke. The aliens didn't seem to find it funny. Counselor Mdat's rocky face seemed to frown. "Captain Morrison, we would like to learn more about your species. Would you be willing to share your historical records with us? We find that understanding a species' past helps us work together better." Morrison saw no harm in the request. Humans had nothing to hide, and maybe showing their history would help the aliens understand that humanity wanted peace too. "Sure," Morrison said. "Dr. Walsh, transmit our historical database." Dr. Walsh activated his tablet and began sending Earth's history to the alien computers. It would take several hours to transfer all the information, but Morrison was happy to share. He wanted these advanced beings to see that humans were good people, who had learned from their mistakes. He had no idea that he had just made the biggest mistake in human history. The aliens began reading about human wars, human weapons, and human violence. Their peaceful minds could not understand why any species would fight so much. As they learned more about humanity, their curiosity turned to fear. Morrison stood in the council chamber, smiling and answering questions about Earth's culture, completely unaware that he was scaring the most powerful beings in the galaxy. 3 days had passed since Captain Morrison shared Earth's history with the Galactic Council. The humans were given comfortable rooms on Harmony Prime while the aliens studied the information. Morrison thought everything was going well. He was wrong. Cultural analyst Zephahai of the Harmony Seekers had not slept in 2 days. She was a tall, thin being with purple skin and 4 arms. Her species specialized in understanding other cultures, but human history was giving her nightmares. She had read about something called World War II, where humans killed 60 million of their own kind. The number was so big she had to check it 3 times. "This cannot be correct," she said to her assistant, a young male named Kithron. "No species could survive this much violence." Kithron looked at his own screen, his green eyes wide with fear. "The records show they had something called nuclear weapons. They built enough of them to destroy their entire planet many times over." "Zephahai, made a sound like a scared bird. Why would anyone create such things? The humans say it was to prevent war, Kithron said. They believe that if everyone had terrible weapons, no one would use them. That makes no sense, HFY said. If you want peace, you get rid of weapons, not make bigger ones. Meanwhile, Captain Morrison was trying to be helpful. He had asked Ambassador Veltar if there was anything he could do while waiting for his ship to be repaired. The alien had suggested that Morrison and his crew could share their knowledge with other species on the station. Morrison thought this was a great idea. He sent Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez to meet with some military historians from the Precision Alliance. These beings looked like tall, thin robots made of silver metal. They were very interested in human military tactics. We have studied your battles, said Commander Nixtel, the lead historian. Your species seems to enjoy fighting. Is this correct? Rodriguez laughed. We don't enjoy it, but we're pretty good at it. Would you like me to show you some basic hand-to-hand combat techniques? The aliens looked at each other with their glowing blue eyes. Hand-to-hand combat? Nixtel asked. You mean physical violence? Between individuals? Sure, Rodriguez said. It's good exercise and helps soldiers stay in shape. She called Chief Engineer Patterson over. Bobby, want to do some sparring for our new friends? Patterson grinned. He was a short, muscular man who had been a boxer before joining the space service. Always up for a good fight, Lisa. The two humans moved to an open area and began to circle each other. Rodriguez threw a slow punch and Patterson blocked it. They moved back and forth, throwing gentle punches and kicks while explaining what they were doing. This is called boxing, Rodriguez said as she ducked under Patterson's swing. It teaches balance and quick thinking. The key is to stay calm, Patterson added, throwing a light jab that Rodriguez easily avoided. You have to think 3 moves ahead. To the humans, this was just friendly exercise. To the watching aliens, it looked like a death match. Commander Nixtel made a high-pitched whining sound and collapsed. 2 other aliens ran from the room, their metal feet clanging on the floor. Are you all right? Rodriguez asked, stopping the demonstration. You were trying to hurt each other, Nixtel said weakly. Not really, Patterson said. We were just playing around. Real fighting is much more serious. This made things worse. The aliens realized that what they had just seen was humans being gentle with each other. In another part of the station, Dr. Kevin Walsh was having his own problems. He was meeting with the Medical Council, a group of healers from different species. They wanted to know about human medicine. Your species is very interesting, said Dr. Yolana, a floating being that looked like a cloud of blue gas. You seem to be very resilient to injury. We've had to be, Walsh said. Humans have been fighting diseases and injuries for thousands of years. We've learned to fix almost anything. How do you treat broken bones? Asked Dr. Mordain, a tree-like being with bark for skin. We set them back in place and let them heal, Walsh said. Sometimes we need to use metal pins or screws to hold everything together. The alien doctors made sounds of horror. You put metal inside your bodies? Dr. Yolana asked. Sure, Walsh said. We also replace hearts, lungs, kidneys, and other organs when they stop working. We can even attach arms and legs if someone loses them. Loses them? Dr. Mordain asked, his leaves rustling with fear. In accidents or battles, Walsh explained. Humans heal pretty fast, but sometimes we need help. The aliens looked at each other with growing alarm. Dr. Yolana spoke quietly. Dr. Walsh, how often do members of your species lose limbs in battle? Not too often anymore, Walsh said. We've gotten better at protecting soldiers. In the old days, it happened a lot more. This conversation was also being recorded. The Medical Council sent an emergency report to the main council, warning that humans were so violent they had developed advanced surgery just to fix battle injuries. Back in the engineering section, Chief Patterson was trying to help fix a problem with the station's power grid. The alien engineers had been working on it for weeks without success. Patterson looked at their plans and scratched his head. Why don't you just overload this relay here? He asked, pointing to a diagram. It'll burn out, but it'll reroute power to the backup systems. Engineer Thalmos, a being that looked like a walking crystal, made a sound like breaking glass. You want us to deliberately destroy part of the station? Just a small part, Patterson said. It's like popping a fuse. You sacrifice one piece to save the whole system. But destruction is wrong, Thalmos said. We build things to last forever. We never break them on purpose. Sometimes you have to break something to fix something else, Patterson explained. It's just practical. The alien engineers backed away from him. The idea of intentionally destroying anything, even to solve a problem, went against everything they believed. All of these reports were flowing back to the council chamber, where Ambassador Veltar was reading them with growing concern. The humans seemed friendly enough, but everything they did was connected to violence in some way. They exercise by fighting each other, he said to Senior Counselor Amdat. Their medicine is based on repairing battle wounds. They solve problems by breaking things. What troubles me most, Amdat replied, is that they don't seem to understand why these things are frightening. To them, violence is normal. Cultural analyst HFY entered the chamber, carrying a large data pad. Her purple skin looked pale, and her forearms were shaking. I have finished my analysis of human history, she said. The results are disturbing. Tell us, Veltar said. In the last 1,000 years, humans have fought over 16,000 wars, HFY said. They have developed weapons that can destroy planets. They have created poison gas, biological weapons, and devices that can kill from orbit. Surely they have learned from their mistakes, Amdat said hopefully. They are still fighting, HFY said. Even now, as we speak, there are 12 active conflicts on their homeworld. They have weapons pointed at each other in something they call a Cold War. But Captain Morrison seems so reasonable. Veltar said, that is what makes them dangerous, HFY replied. They can be kind and violent at the same time. They pet animals and eat them. They love their families and kill their enemies. They are the most contradictory species I have ever studied. The council chamber fell silent. For 3,000 years they had built a civilization based on peace and understanding. Now they were faced with a species that seemed designed for war. What do you recommend? Amdat asked. We cannot let them join galactic civilization as they are, HFY said. They would destroy everything we have built. But we also cannot simply ignore them. They are already spreading to new worlds. Then what do we do? Veltar asked. We give them a choice, Amdat said slowly. They can change their ways and become civilized, or they can remain isolated in their own space. And if they refuse to change? Veltar asked. Then we must protect the galaxy from them, Amdat said. Whatever the cost. None of the aliens noticed that their conversation was being recorded by the station's computers, and none of them knew that humans were very good at hacking computer systems. Back on the Liberty, Communications Officer Tracy Adams was monitoring all transmissions from the station. She had been listening to the aliens' private conversations for 2 days. What she heard made her blood run cold. Captain Morrison, she said into her communicator, you need to get back to the ship right now. We have a big problem. Captain Morrison rushed back to the Liberty after Tracy Adams' urgent message. His boots echoed in the empty corridors as he ran toward the ship's communication center. Rodriguez and Dr. Walsh were close behind him, both looking worried. What did you find? Morrison asked as soon as he reached the bridge. Adams looked up from her station, her face pale. I've been monitoring their communications, sir. They're planning something bad. Show me, Morrison said. Adams played back the recorded conversation between the council members. Morrison listened to Ambassador Veltar, Senior Counselor Amdat, and cultural analyst HFY discussing humanity's fate. His expression grew darker with each word. They want to civilize us, Rodriguez said angrily. Like we're some kind of dangerous animals? They're scared? Dr. Walsh said quietly. Everything we do frightens them, Morrison nodded slowly. Tracy, how long have you been listening to their private talks? 2 days, sir, Adams replied. I started when I noticed they were acting strange around us. They've been discussing us in every meeting. What else did you learn? Adams brought up more recordings. They're calling an emergency session of the full council. All 12 species are sending representatives. They're going to vote on what to do about humanity. When? Morrison asked. Tomorrow, Adams said. But sir, there's something else. They've been studying our star charts. They know exactly where Earth is and how many colonies we have. Morrison felt a cold knot in his stomach. Show me. The screen displayed a map of human space. Red dots marked every human colony, every space station, every mining outpost. The aliens had been thorough. They know everything, Rodriguez whispered. Sir, Chief Patterson said from the engineering station, our jump drive is almost fixed. I can have us ready to leave in 6 hours. Good, Morrison said, but we need to warn Earth first. Dr. Walsh shook his head. We're too far away. It would take months for a message to reach home. Then we go back ourselves, Morrison said. We need to tell Earth what's happening. Captain, Adams said, there's more. They're not just scared of us. They're talking about something called the Enforcement Protocol. Morrison turned to her. What's that? It's never been used before, Adams said. It's for dealing with species that refuse to follow galactic law. If we don't accept their offer to join civilization, they'll use force to make us comply. Force? Rodriguez asked. I thought these people were peaceful. They are, Dr. Walsh said. But they're also terrified. Fear makes people do things they normally wouldn't do. Morrison paced the bridge, thinking hard. How many ships do they have? Hundreds, Adams said. Maybe thousands. Every species contributes to the council fleet. And they're all coming for us if we say no, Rodriguez said. Morrison stopped pacing. Not if we say no. When we say no, sir? Patterson asked. Look at this from their perspective, Morrison said. They've built a perfect, peaceful society. Then we show up with our violent history and our weapons. They think we're going to destroy everything they've built. Maybe we should consider their offer, Dr. Walsh said. If we could learn to be more peaceful ... Kevin, Morrison said gently, do you really think humanity can change overnight? Do you think Earth will give up its armies and weapons just because some aliens ask nicely? Dr. Walsh was quiet for a moment. No, he said finally. We're not built that way. Exactly, Morrison said. And they know it. That's why they're planning to force us. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what Morrison was saying. The aliens weren't offering humanity a choice. They were giving humanity an ultimatum. What do we do? Adams asked. We go home, Morrison said. We warn Earth and we prepare for war. War, Dr. Walsh asked. Against the entire galaxy? If necessary, Morrison said, but maybe it won't come to that. Maybe when they see we're willing to fight, they'll back down. Rodriguez looked doubtful. Sir, they have thousands of ships. We have what, maybe 50 back home? 50 human ships, Morrison corrected. There's a difference. Before anyone could ask what he meant, the ship's alarm sounded. An alien shuttle was approaching the Liberty. It's Ambassador Veltar, Adams said, checking her sensors. He's requesting permission to come aboard. Morrison looked at his crew. This is it. They're going to make their offer. Should we let him on? Rodriguez asked. Yes, Morrison said. But everyone stays armed and ready. 10 minutes later, Ambassador Veltar entered the Liberty's bridge. He looked nervous, his silver eyes darting around the room. Behind him came 2 other aliens Morrison didn't recognize. Captain Morrison, Veltar said, I bring greetings from the Galactic Council. Ambassador, Morrison replied politely. What can I do for you? The Council has finished reviewing your species' history, Veltar said. We have made a decision about humanity's future. I'm listening, Morrison said. Veltar activated a small device that projected a holographic document. The Council offers humanity membership in galactic civilization. You will be granted full rights and privileges, including access to our technology and trade networks. That sounds generous, Morrison said carefully. What's the catch? No catch, Veltar said quickly. Only reasonable requirements? Humanity must immediately cease all military activities. Your weapons must be destroyed. Your armies must be disbanded. Council peacekeepers will be stationed in human space to ensure compliance. And if we refuse? Morrison asked. Veltar's expression became uncomfortable. The Council hopes you will see the wisdom of acceptance. But if we don't? Then humanity will be considered a threat to galactic peace, one of the other aliens said. This one looked like a walking tree with bark for skin. The Council will take necessary action to protect civilization, Morrison nodded slowly. I see. And how long do we have to decide? You must answer now, the tree alien said. The Council cannot allow a violent species to remain free in the galaxy. Now? Morrison asked. Don't you think Earth's government should have a say in this? You are humanity's representative, Veltar said. Your decision will be binding. Morrison looked at his crew. Rodriguez's hand was resting on her weapon. Patterson was ready to shut down the ship's systems if needed. Adams was recording everything. Dr. Walsh looked sick. Ambassador, Morrison said finally, I appreciate the Council's offer, but I can't accept it. The aliens looked shocked. Captain, Veltar said, perhaps you don't understand. This is not a negotiation. This is the Council's final offer. I understand perfectly, Morrison said. You're afraid of us, so you want to cage us. But humans don't do well in cages. You would risk war with the entire galaxy? The tree alien asked. If that's what it takes to remain free, Morrison said. Yes, the third alien, who had been quiet until now, spoke. She looked like a cloud of blue gas. Captain Morrison, your species is outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. You cannot possibly win such a war, Morrison smiled grimly. Ma'am, you've read our history. Has being outnumbered ever stopped humans before? The aliens exchanged worried glances. They had indeed read human history. They knew about battles where small human forces had defeated much larger enemies. This is madness, Veltar said. Your species will be destroyed, maybe, Morrison said. But we'll be free when we die. The aliens left the Liberty quickly, their peaceful minds unable to understand humans who would choose death over submission. As soon as they were gone, Morrison turned to his crew. Patterson, how long until the jump drive is ready? 3 hours. Sir, make it 2, Morrison said. Tracy, start sending coded messages to every human ship in the area. Tell them what's coming. What are you planning? Dr. Walsh asked. We're going home, Morrison said. And we're going to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten humanity. Sir, Rodriguez said, they'll follow us. They'll bring their entire fleet to Earth. Good, Morrison said. Let them come. They want to see how violent humans can be. We'll show them. As the Liberty prepared to leave Harmony Prime, none of the humans noticed the small alien device that Veltar had quietly attached to their ship. The Council would indeed follow them home, and they would bring more ships than humanity had ever imagined. The Liberty jumped through space faster than light, racing toward Earth with news that would change everything. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge watching the stars streak past. In 3 days they would be home. Behind them, somewhere in the darkness, the largest fleet in galactic history was following. Admiral Susan Clark sat in her office on Luna Station, Earth's main military headquarters. She was reading Morrison's emergency message for the 5th time. The words still seemed impossible. Aliens, a galactic council, a demand for surrender, and now an invasion fleet coming to Earth. How many ships? She asked General Paul Hayes, her chief of staff. Morrison estimates at least 1,000, Hayes replied. He was a big man with gray hair and worried eyes. Maybe. More. Every species in the council is sending forces. And we have 43 combat ships, Hayes said. Plus about 100 civilian vessels we could arm in a hurry. Clark nodded grimly. The odds were terrible, but she had expected worse. What about the colonies? We're pulling back our scattered forces, Hayes said. Captain Pete Sullivan is bringing the Constitution and her battle group back from the Centauri system. Captain Maria Santos is coming from the mining stations with the Defiance and 12 armed freighters. That gives us maybe 60 ships total, Clark said. Against 1,000. Admiral, Hayes said quietly, Maybe we should consider surrendering. Clark looked at him sharply. Paul, would you give up your freedom to save your life? Hayes was quiet for a moment. No, ma'am, I guess I wouldn't. Then we fight, Clark said. Send the activation codes to all defense platforms, wake up every weapon system we have, and get me President Miller on the line. President Sarah Miller was in her bunker beneath Washington, D.C. when the call came through. She had been there for 6 hours ever since Admiral Clark briefed her on the situation. The leader of the United Earth government looked tired and scared. Admiral, Miller said, are you sure about this? Maybe we can negotiate. Ma'am, they already made their final offer, Clark replied. Submit or die. Those are our only choices. How long do we have? The Liberty will arrive tomorrow, Clark said. The alien fleet will be here 2 days after that. Miller closed her eyes. Do we have any chance of winning, honestly? No, Clark said. But we might hurt them badly enough to make them think twice about attacking other free species. That's something, I suppose, Miller said. Admiral, you have my authorization to activate all defense protocols. Protect Earth. Yes, ma'am, Clark said. We'll make them pay for every mile. 2 days later, the Liberty arrived at Earth. Morrison had never been so happy to see the blue and green planet. But his happiness faded when he saw what Admiral Clark had done. Earth was surrounded by weapons. Missile platforms floated in orbit like deadly satellites. Space mines drifted in patterns that would funnel enemy ships into kill zones. Nuclear warheads waited on asteroids, ready to turn space rocks into giant shotgun shells. My God, Doctor, Walsh whispered. It looks like we're preparing for the end of the world. We are, Morrison said. Because if we lose, it might be... The Liberty docked at Luna Station, where Morrison met with Admiral Clark. She was a tall woman with short red hair and steel-gray eyes. Her uniform was crisp and clean, but her face showed the strain of preparing for an impossible battle. Captain Morrison, she said, thank you for the warning. We've done what we can. What's the plan? Morrison asked. Simple, Clark said. We hit them as hard as we can, as fast as we can. We can't win a long fight, so we'll make the first punch count. The aliens think we're barbarians, Morrison said. Maybe it's time to prove them right. Clark smiled grimly. That's exactly what I was thinking. She led Morrison to the command center, where dozens of officers were tracking ship movements and weapon positions. Captain Sullivan was there with his crew from the Constitution. Captain Santos had arrived with the Defiance and her ragtag fleet of armed civilian ships. Captains, Clark said, meet the man who started this war. Actually, Morrison said, I think it started the moment we refused to kneel. Good point, Santos said. She was a small woman with dark skin and fierce eyes. When do they get here? As if answering her question, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Lieutenant Adams, who had transferred to Luna Station's communication center, called out from her station. Admiral, we have contacts, she said. Lots of them. The main screen lit up with dots of light. More and more appeared until the display looked like a swarm of angry bees. Morrison counted 50, then 100, then stopped counting. How many? Clark asked. Over 1,500 ships, Adams reported. They're coming out of jump space in formation. 1,500, Sullivan whistled. They really want us dead. The alien fleet was massive and beautiful. Their ships gleamed like jewels in the darkness, arranged in perfect patterns that showed thousands of years of military discipline. At the center of the formation was a ship the size of a small moon, covered in weapons and shields. That's their command vessel, Morrison said. The council leaders will be on that ship. And that's our target, Clark said, on the alien flagship. Commodore Ythmar of the Precision Alliance studied the human defenses. He was a tall, silver being who had never lost a battle in 300 years of service. Around him, the council representatives watched nervously. How many ships do the humans have? Asked Ambassador Valtar. 62 combat vessels, Ythmar replied, plus various civilian craft. They are outnumbered 25 to 1. Then this will be over quickly, said Senior Counselor Mdat. Perhaps, Ythmar said, but humans are unpredictable. We should be careful. Careful? Veltar asked. We have 1,500 ships. What can 60 humans do? Yithmar was about to find out. Admiral Clark opened communications with the alien fleet. Her face appeared on screens throughout both fleets. This is Admiral Susan Clark of the United Earth Defense Force, she said. You are ordered to leave this system immediately. Commodore Yithmar responded, his translated voice cold and mechanical. Admiral Clark, I am Commodore Yithmar. You will surrender your fleet and submit to Council authority. This is your final warning. Commodore, Clark said calmly. Go to hell. She cut the transmission and turned to her bridge crew. All ships, weapons free, show them what humans do to bullies. The battle began with Earth's orbital mines, hidden among the asteroids. Nuclear warheads detonated in sequence, creating a wall of fire and radiation. 12 alien ships were destroyed instantly, their crews vaporized before they knew what hit them. What was that? Veltar screamed. They're using nuclear weapons in space, Yithmar said, his voice shocked. No civilized species does that. We're not fighting a civilized species, Amdat said grimly. The human fleet charged forward, their ships moving in patterns the aliens had never seen. Captain Sullivan led the Constitution straight into the enemy formation, his weapons firing continuously. Captain Santos brought the Defiance and her civilian ships around the alien flank, using their small size to avoid the bigger weapons. Morrison commanded the Liberty, now armed with every weapon Luna Station could spare. He dove through the alien formation like a fighter plane, too small and fast for the big ships to target effectively. They're not fighting like a fleet, Yithmar said, watching the tactical display. They're fighting like individual warriors. He was right. Human ships broke formation and attacked on their own, each captain choosing their own targets. It was chaotic and unpredictable. Nothing like the careful battle plans the aliens used. The Constitution rammed an alien cruiser, Captain Sullivan choosing to sacrifice his ship to take out a bigger enemy. The explosion lit up space like a new star. They're committing suicide, an alien officer said. No, Yithmar said quietly. They're winning. Despite being outnumbered, the humans were doing terrible damage. Every human ship that died took 2 or 3 alien ships with it. The perfect alien formations were falling apart as captains tried to avoid ramming attacks. Then Admiral Clark made the decision that would haunt the galaxy forever. All ships, she broadcast, target the civilian areas of their command ship. Admiral, Dr. Walsh protested over the radio. There might be non-combatants on that ship. Doctor, Clark said coldly, they came here to enslave us. No one on that ship is innocent. The concentrated fire of the human fleet struck the alien command vessel, punching through its shields and into its hull. Thousands of alien civilians died in the explosions. The council representatives watched in horror as their perfect, peaceful world collapsed around them. These humans fought without honor, without rules, without mercy. Stop this, Veltar begged Yithmar. Order a retreat? We cannot retreat, Yithmar said. If we do, other species will think they can defy the council too. Then end this quickly, Amdat demanded. Destroy their planet? Yithmar hesitated. The council had never deliberately destroyed a world before, but these humans had to be stopped. Target Earth, he ordered. Prepare to fire. The alien weapons powered up to destroy Earth, massive energy cannons on 100. Ships turned toward the blue planet where 8 billion humans lived. Commodore Yithmar watched the targeting computers lock on to major cities. Fire, he ordered. The beams lanced down from space, striking New York, London, Tokyo, and a dozen other cities. Millions of people died in seconds. The attacks were meant to force humanity's surrender by showing them the cost of resistance. Instead, they did something the aliens never expected. They made humanity angry. Admiral Clark watched the death of her home cities on the main screen. Her face went white, then red with rage. Around her, every human officer had the same expression. The aliens had just learned the difference between defeating humans and making them hate you. All ships, Clark said, her voice deadly calm. New orders, no prisoners, no mercy, kill them all. The remaining human fleet, now down to 30 ships, turned toward the alien formation with a fury the galaxy had never seen. Captain Morrison in the Liberty led the charge, his ship's engines glowing white-hot as he pushed them beyond their limits. "Jake," Dr. Walsh called from the medical bay, "this is madness. We can't win." "We're not trying to win anymore," Morrison replied. "We're trying to make them pay." The Liberty slammed into an alien destroyer, Morrison timing the collision perfectly to take out the ship's main reactor. The explosion vaporized both vessels, but not before Morrison broadcast a final message. "This is for New York, you alien bastards." Captain Santos in the Defiance followed Morrison's example, ramming her ship into the alien command vessel's weapons array. The impact disabled half their planet-killing guns, but it cost Santos her life and the lives of her entire crew on the alien flagship. The council representatives watched in growing horror as the humans threw away their lives to hurt the alien fleet. These weren't soldiers following orders. These were people choosing to die rather than live as slaves. "They're all insane," Ambassador Valtar whispered. "No," said cultural analyst Zephyhi, who had been watching the battle in stunned silence. "They're doing exactly what humans always do. They're protecting their family." "By dying?" Valtar asked. "By making sure anyone who hurts their family dies with them," Zephyhi said. Senior Counselor Mdat watched another human ship explode as it took out an alien cruiser. "How many ships have we lost?" "Over 400, Commodore Yithmar reported. "The humans have lost 47. "Impossible," Mdat said. "We outnumber them 20 to 1. "Numbers don't matter when your enemy doesn't care about living," Yithmar said grimly. The battle was turning into a nightmare for the aliens. Every time they destroyed a human ship, it took several alien vessels with it. The humans had turned their entire fleet into guided missiles, each one aimed at the heart of the alien formation, but even human courage had limits. Admiral Clark's flagship, the Terran Pride, was the last major human vessel still fighting. Her ship was damaged and bleeding air, but she kept firing. "Admiral," her communications officer called, "we're getting a transmission from Earth. It's President Miller?" The president's face appeared on the screen, streaked with tears and covered in dust from the destroyed cities. "Susan, you have to stop this. They're threatening to destroy the entire planet if we don't surrender." "Ma'am," Clark said, "with respect, no." "Admiral, that's an order," Miller said. "Then court-martial me when this is over," Clark replied. "I'm not letting these murderers win." She cut the transmission and turned back to the battle. The Terran Pride's weapons were almost out of ammunition, but Clark had one more trick to play. "All hands, abandon ship," she ordered. "Set the reactor to overload." "Admiral," her first officer protested, "you'll be killed." "That's the idea," Clark said. "Someone has to drive this ship into their command vessel." As her crew evacuated, Clark took manual control of the Terran Pride. She aimed the ship at the alien flagship and pushed the engines to maximum power. The reactor began to overheat, building toward an explosion that would dwarf anything seen in the battle so far. On the alien command ship, Commodore Yithmar watched the human flagship approaching. "Shoot it down," he ordered. "We're trying," his weapons officer replied, "but they've reinforced the front armor. Our shots aren't stopping them." "Then get us out of here," Yithmar said. "We can't," the navigation officer said. "Our engines are damaged. We can't move fast enough." Admiral Clark smiled as she watched the alien ship grow larger on her screen. In 30 seconds, both ships would be destroyed. It would be worth it. Then something unexpected happened. Dr. Kevin Walsh appeared on her bridge. "Kevin?" Clark said. Shocked, "I ordered everyone to abandon ship." "I'm a doctor," Walsh said calmly. "My job is to save lives, not take them." "There's nothing to save here," Clark said. "We're all dead in 20 seconds. Maybe not," Walsh said. He sat down at the communications station and opened a channel to the alien fleet. "This is Dr. Kevin Walsh of Earth," he said. "I'm speaking to any alien who can hear me. You want to know what humans are really like? Look around you. Look at what we've done to your fleet." On ships throughout the alien formation, Beings listened to the human doctor's words. "You came here to force us into peace," Walsh continued. "You thought violence was our weakness? You were wrong. Violence is our strength. We're good at it because we've had to be. But that's not all we are." Admiral Clark looked at him in confusion. "Kevin, what are you doing?" "My job," Walsh said. He continued speaking to the aliens. "You want to see the real difference between humans and other species? We don't just fight for ourselves. We fight for everyone who can't fight back." The Terran Pride was now only seconds away from the alien command ship, Yithmar and the Council. Representatives braced for impact. "You're terrified of us because you think we'll destroy your peaceful galaxy," Walsh said. "But what if we protected it instead? What if the species that's good at violence use that skill to stop the species that aren't good at peace?" "Kevin," Clark said urgently, 10 seconds. "Admiral," Walsh said, "abort the collision." "What?" "Trust me," Walsh said. "Abort the collision." Clark stared at him for a moment, then pulled back on the controls. The Terran Pride's engines fired, barely managing to avoid the alien command ship. The reactor was still overloading, but they were far enough away that the explosion wouldn't destroy the alien vessel. The massive detonation lit up space like a second sun. When the light faded, both ships were still intact, floating damaged, but alive in the debris field. "This is Commodore Yithmar," came a transmission from the alien ship. "Dr. Walsh, I am listening." "Commodore," Walsh said, "you've seen what happens when you threaten humanity. Now let me show you what happens when you ask for our help." Over the next hour, Dr. Walsh negotiated the strangest peace treaty in galactic history. Humanity would not join the Galactic Council as subjects. Instead, they would become the Council's protectors. When peaceful species faced threats they couldn't handle, humans would handle them. When diplomacy failed, human ships would arrive to remind everyone why diplomacy was a good idea. The galaxy would remain peaceful, but that peace would be guaranteed by the most violent species in known space. "You're making us the galaxy's police force," Admiral Clark said. "No," Dr. Walsh replied. "We're making ourselves the galaxy's guard." "Dogs," Commodore Yithmar understood the arrangement perfectly. "You will be our sword." "And you will be our conscience," Walsh said. "You'll make sure we only use that sword when we have to." The Treaty of New Harmony was signed 3 days later on Luna Station. The aliens would rebuild the cities they had destroyed. Humans would patrol the galaxy's borders, protecting peaceful species from threats both internal and external. Ambassador Veltar, signing for the Ethereal Consortium, looked up at Dr. Walsh. "Doctor, are you certain your species can accept this responsibility?" Walsh smiled. "Ambassador, humans have been protecting people who couldn't protect themselves for thousands of years. It's what we do best. Even when those people have tried to destroy you, especially then," Walsh said. "That's when they need protection the most." 5 years later, Admiral Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the new U.S. Liberty, watching a human patrol fleet escort a convoy of alien colonists to their new home. The galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in centuries, not because violence had been eliminated, but because everyone knew exactly what would happen to anyone who started trouble. Humanity had shown up late to galactic civilization, violent and uninvited. But in the end, that was exactly what the galaxy needed.